This broadcast is part of the IC Robots Radio Network. Visit icrobots.com for this and many other nerd/nostalgia-related podcasts. You won't be sorry for long.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire.
I don't wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I don't wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I don't wanna grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with.
Welcome to the Toys R Us Report, a weekly journey into the life of a guy who spends more time in the toy section than the kid who hangs the figures from the pegs. Your host, IC Robots.
Greetings, Earth people. I'm from Jupiter. It is me again, IC Robots. I am not a hero, but I do sacrifice a bit of my week each and every week to make your week a bit less weak. And this week it's going to get a lot less. We got a ton of fun stuff ahead of us. We're going to talk about a trip I took to another land, a land known as Reno. I did a whole bunch of fun stuff there. We're going to talk about a movie I absolutely loved, as well as Spider-Man. It is going to be an action-packed, information-packed, jam-packed, everything packed all into one. Super fun, super great episode. So without further ado, let's get busy with the show.
Giddy up. Giddy up again. Giddy up.
You are listening to the Toys R Us Report. They don't know who we be. They looking, but they don't see.
That is so true. That is so true. We are out there amongst you regular people, just blending in like we were like robots in disguise, or better yet, Zartan. You look right at us, but you don't know what you see. At any rate, we took a bit of a family trip to Reno. Reno is like, it's like Las Vegas Junior. It's like what I imagine Atlantic City to be like. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty cool, but it's not the big time. It's not the Las Vegas den of sin. It is something else. If Las Vegas is cocaine, then I would say that Reno is meth. I think that is a perfect example, but it's a lot of fun, and we do enjoy going there. We haven't gone to Reno in many moons. Reno is in Nevada. We are in California. It is maybe 5 hours, 4 hours if you truck it and don't stop at all. 4.5 hours. You know, if you make good time, it's not too far. It's an easy day trip. So we decided, let's head down there. Let's stay 2 nights. Let's have some fun. And it was me, the old wife 2.0, and her gal pal all went down, and we had a good time. Like I was getting started on a minute ago, we haven't been to Reno in like a really long time. We went there for my birthday a few years back, and the town was really desolate. There just weren't a lot of people hanging out. There weren't a lot of dudes hanging and clanging. There was no hanging and banging. There was nothing at all like that. It was a bit bummerish, you know. It kind of bummed me out. So we hadn't been back in a while. I think that this was because just like the proliferation of Indian casinos and such all over the place. Everyone has like a riverboat casino or something near them, so the idea of driving 4.5 hours isn't really necessary, but you have to consider that Reno does offer more than just a casino. It's like, you know, it's nice hotel, spa, there's all sorts of fun stuff. It's a touristy kind of place, and when we got there, it had been such a long time that they have done like a complete overhaul of like the main strip. Everything was looking pretty nice, looking pretty tight, pretty clean, and that was good. And they were setting up like a festival right in front of the hotel where we were staying at, and it turned out that this was like the Nevada State Chicken Wing Championship weekend in Reno, and I am recently getting into chicken wings. I'm not the biggest chicken guy in the world. I'll eat it. It's not my favorite meat. I prefer pork. I prefer beef. It's not for me as much as it is other people, and as such, it took me a long time to get into chicken wings, but I have recently, and they're quite delectable. My favorite is like the lemon pepper ones, I think, is what I have so far gotten the most enjoyment out of it. The wife does a pretty good chicken wing. She deep fries them and stuff, so they are crispy and not as oily. I don't know. She has a method. I just might be wrong altogether. She makes good wings, is what I'm saying. So we have them every once in a while. Like, if we're going to watch something, like I'm going to watch like WrestleMania or a wrestling show, we might mac down on some wings, and they had like this giant festival right in front of the hotel that was dedicated to chicken wings, and I'll get to that in a minute. We stayed at Circus. We stayed there for a couple reasons. One of them was, we was bringing the kid and the gal pal, and that would give them like a bunch of arcades to hang out in when we were doing stuff. Also, Circus in Reno is connected to two other hotels. There is the Silver Legacy and the El Dorado, and they're all connected together in one gigantic building. I'm not even kidding. It's like 5 city blocks all the way across of like casinos, restaurants, stores. You could stay your whole trip and never even go outside. There's like numerous food courts, and there's, touristy stores, not like normal kind of stores. They don't have a toy store. I think there should be like a collectible toy store. I think that you could get some marks that way. When we were in Vegas, they had like an FAO Schwartz or something in the hotel, and that was cool. I remember looking around there, and they had a lot of high-end stuff. It was pretty cool. You might want to try the same thing, Reno. Just saying, but it's all fun there. And another reason was they have a on-site dog kennel. It is only $10 a night. You can bring your dogs and kennel them up there. When you have your dogs, man, they're quite a responsibility. You either got to take them with you on a trip, or you got to find somebody to watch them. And if you're going to find somebody to watch them, you got to find somebody you trust. You got to give them your keys. They got to be willing to come over like every single day and take care of your dogs and walk your dogs and stuff, because without you being in the house, your dogs can go buck wild. I remember when we first got Ursa, we left her here with my sister-in-law. She came and stayed, and Ursa bugged out when we weren't here. She tore up a couch cushion, which is completely unheard of. So when we travel, we bring her with, and we wanted to go and have fun on this trip, so we picked a place that had a kennel. It was pretty cool. You can put them in there, and then you can see from an overhead camera into their cage. You can see what they're doing all the time. We left that on at night. I got a little anxious being away from them, so having like the camera on the TV and being able to wake up and look at it was reassuring and fun. We had a good time at Circus. They have like, a big top gimmick. It's more for the families. It's as much for the families as a casino could be. They have a whole area they call the Midway, where they have video games and circus games where you can win prizes, and they even have like circus acts. When I would go there with my family back in the day, this has been like the casino we've been going to like the entirety of my existence here in California. They had a big orb, like a big giant orb with a dude on a motorcycle in it, and he would like gain momentum and eventually be going like around in circles around the top. He was completely upside down doing the whole circle. That was really cool. I remember that distinctly, the dude just like going around, and then at points they would like take it up a notch, and his assistant would be in the ball, and he'd be like doing circles around them. It was all fun. Nowadays they have like gymnastic acts and stuff, and one addition they've made that is cool is they have cameras on it that show it on monitors all around the food court and the casino, so you don't have to like gather around. But back in the day, part of the fun was the gathering around and like, seeing it up tight and in person. But it's all good, man. Technology like always marches us forward. We hit the Midway one night and we won a bunch of plushies. The wife got a couple in a claw machine. The claw machines they're pretty easy there, I've noticed. I felt like they were actually grabbing like almost every time, and sometimes you just weren't getting it. But people were walking around with bags and bags of prizes from the claw machines and the different games. They had Pokemon this time, which was kind of cool. She got a Pikachu, and 2.0 got like a Charizard and some kind of turtle thing. It wasn't a Squirtle or War Turtle. I don't know what it was. It was kind of like a green turtle on the ground, and it had like a leaf coming out of its back. I don't know. Is that like a Chikorita? I have no idea. She got that, and then the gal pal won like a Donkey Kong, and They got like a Luigi, which was cool. Most of the booths had like video game related characters as the desirable prizes, and they also had claw machines full of fidget spinners. These things were like everywhere. Every claw machine was just like piled with fidget spinners, and it seemed like a lot of dudes were winning them. They'd get pretty pumped up. For a while. We had to stand and wait for 2.0 to do something, and we were over by the claw machine corner, and dudes were hitting left and right with these stupid fidget spinners, and every single time they would be like jacked to the gills, jumping up and down whenever they would win one of these things. These gimmicks are hot right now. They're sizzling hot. They're on fire. I don't know what the deal is, man. I've spun one once or twice, but it doesn't seem like anything. When I fidget, I tend to fidget with like a ponytail holder. I wear them on my wrist sometimes. Pony holder, and I'll kind of play with them in my fingers. That's like a fidget that I have. We ventured out into the greater Reno area just to see what the town had to offer. We stopped at the Toys R Us, but I'll talk about that in the final segment of the show. It wasn't really like all that different than my Toys R Us, so don't get all excited like you're going to hear that I found some hot toys or something. It was nothing all cool like that. We went to a mall. The gals wanted to go to a mall and get boba tea. The babies wanted to get their bobos. They drink boba tea, bubble tea, like all the time. That's their thing. They're like babies with their bobos, just sucking on these straws all day long. But they wanted to get one of those, so we went over there, and there were a lot of cool stores. There was a store that was like all games, like board games and role-playing games. They also had like video games, and in the back of the room, they had like 5 or 6 or 7, like, they were new versions of like old cabinets, arcade cabinets. They had Space Invaders, and they had Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, and Donkey Kong, but they weren't like the original ones. They were repros, but still, it's all fun, man. It's all good. I know I've said it's all fun like 3 times, but I'm talking about vacation, man. It was all fun. What am I going to do? We played that for a bit. I played Space Invaders. I haven't played a Space Invaders cabinet in the longest time, where you have the left and right buttons to move back and forth as opposed to as a joystick. I bet this is something like Vic's Age and all those dudes who have access to Arcadia. They probably get to do it anytime they want, but we do not have a cool retrocade in my town, and that is something that I lament, but the rents here are so crazy high. Check it out. We were there, and we're just like, this store is so big. I cannot believe how big it is in comparison to some of the stores in our mall. At one time, the wife, she worked in the downtown mall, and the store was 3,000 square feet, and she knows that they paid $60,000 rent per month to the mall, which is insane. And while we were in the Reno Mall, we had a bit of time to sit, and we were talking about how there were all of these like mom and pop stores in the mall, where our mall is all just, big chain stores and stuff, which is fine. It's kind of what I expect at the mall, but there were a lot of fun stores. There was like a game store, a toy store, just all kinds of cool stores that people can afford to keep open. So we saw like an opening, like a store that was, available to be leased, and had a number with a recorded message. So we called, and we found out that in Reno, you are paying roughly like $2 per square feet compared to like $23 per square foot in our mall. It's insane. The Reno Mall was so much cooler because people can actually afford to open a store that they have like passion about. Everything's not like the new Forever 21 knockoff, or whatever. It's not important. I don't want to talk about mall politics, but when you get outside California, it's crazy when you find out how inexpensive rather, rent is. It's bananas here. It's insane. But you don't want to hear about that. We also went to the Dig in Reno. That was kind of fun. It was nothing at all like our Dig. It was within like 5 minutes of the Toys R Us. That's the only reason we really stopped. I didn't want to dig it up. It was kind of small. They only had like one row of of wares and one row of clothes, but they did have like one giant bin of books. And I found a vintage Bachman books, the Stephen King early novels. They collect all 4 of the early Bachman books into one thing, and they call it the Bachman books. It's like Rage, Roadwork, The Long Walk, and also The Running Man. Rage has been pulled out of print. Stephen King has asked that one to be pulled out of print because it's about a school shooting. So these copies are kind of hard to come by, the ones that have Rage in it. If you ever find like an original Rage paperback, that's like a $500 book. So keep your eye open for that. I've wanted one like my entire life. I'm a Stephen King collector to a degree. I try to get first print of his novels whenever I can see him at like bookstores or thrift stores. I got a pretty fair collection, and I don't have any of the original Bachman paperbacks, and I do want those. If you ever see them, just keep your eyes out. They have some value to them. And we went to a video store. I decided to do a search on that when we were there. I searched Reno and Sparks. Sparks is the little town next to it. It is the Rohnert Park to my Santa Rosa, and I found one called The Video King. We headed over there after the dig, and the girls are like, you take us to the sketchiest places whenever we go somewhere. Everywhere we go, you take us to the bad side of town, and you go to thrift stores and video stores. And I'm just like, what can I say? Everything I like is on the bad side of town. It's just the way that I roll, and you're going to be tougher for it. And plus, it's not that bad. It's not like it's dangerous. It's just, weirdos walking around. And you gotta learn how to deal with weirdos in life, gals. It's just, one of those things we all have to know. So we hit up the Video King. When we went in, the guy had his jacket and his bag, and he was getting ready to leave, and he's like, oh, I was just closing it up. And I'm like, oh, it's all good. He's like, no, man, come on in. And that assured that I had to buy something. When I check out video stores in other towns, I always make sure to buy something, because you can't treat this place like it's a museum. You can't go in there, like, take a bunch of pictures and get a blog post out of it, and then just walk out like whatever. So I at least buy like a previously viewed DVD. If they have sodas or whatever, I'll get a soda and a candy bar too. I try to get as much as I reasonably can, and the fact that he was leaving sort of assured that I was going to get something. But the store was really small. It was not that many rows, maybe like 5 or 6 rows, and it wasn't a rental store, despite the fact that it said rental store on the front. He said that he was renting, but not enough people returned, so he kind of gave it up, and now he just sells. There were mostly just like older stock DVDs, things like Blade, things like The Bridges of Madison County, Cocoon, boring stuff like that. He had a fairly large adult room in the back. I wasn't able to go and venture into there because, I was with the family, but I saw it, and when they weren't looking, I sort of peeked my head in there, and it was maybe like half the size of the rest of the store. The dude himself was really friendly. He was a nice guy. He didn't mind me taking pictures. He did his best to like show us what was available in the store. Really cool, really polite guy. He said that if there were any like hard to find titles that I was into, that I, should contact him, and I wish there was, but there isn't really anything that I'm super duper searching for. Maybe like home recorded videos with the commercial still in. I should ask him if he has any of those. But the Video King was cool. We bought Juno. I really like that movie, and we don't have it on disc. It's the one where Ellen Page gets pregnant by Michael Cera. It's written by Diablo Cody. I like it a lot. I like Ellen Page. She's one of my favorite actresses. I think that one of the downsides of the X-Men series was they just did not get enough out of her when she was Kitty Pryde, because she's an excellent actress. She really plays small and spunky well, and I would not have minded seeing a bigger role for Ellen Page and Kitty Pryde in the X-Men movies. But be that as it may, we bought Juno. We had fun at the Video King. I got a bunch of pictures. Check icrobots.com. Those should be up there any day now. I also got some good pictures of a family video from my good homeboy Eric Purcell. He sent them to me on Facebook, and it's a store in his town. We don't have a family video, and man, I wish that we did. It's like a Blockbuster. It's big and corporate looking, and I would just love to have one of those, but we don't. But he has, and he was nice enough to go and send pictures. If you have a video store in your town or in your area, please send me pictures. Just go over there, snap some pictures, and send them to me so that I can document the remaining video stores out there in the world on the internet before time and whatever just, eventually takes its toll. Then we got back to the hotel, and it was Wingfest. We hit up Wingfest. The gals didn't want to come. There was a sushi joint in the hotel, and they had sushi like every single meal that we were there, which is cool. I dig it. They have fun. It's healthy. They like to order dragon rolls and Shirley Temples, which is cool, man. It's cute. I don't know. They did that, and we went out to Wingfest, and Wingfest was so dope. It was great. There was a band, some super trashy rock band just rocking out super hard, playing like George Thorogood classics and stuff, and there were like wings galore. The way it worked was you could either buy like a whole one-day pass for $65 and you could eat wings till your head fell off, or you could do what we did and buy it like by the wing. Every place had 3 wings for $4. We ended up trying like 4 separate wings, and the one that I liked the best was these like Hawaiian garlic wings. There was like this whole Hawaiian wing stand, and they had like garlic chicken flavor, and they tasted like the garlic chicken one gets when you go to like, you know, your favorite Chinese restaurant, but in the form of a chicken wing. It was delicious. They wanted to get everybody to vote, so we voted for them as the favorite, but we macked a bunch of wings, and we had a super fun time. Then we went back to the casino, and we had a couple daiquiris, and we played some quarter video poker. That's my jam. I like video poker a lot, the kind where you have to get at least a pair of jacks to win. That's my deal. I play it. I do all right. I usually come out ahead. I didn't this time. I lost all my money, but I didn't bet much. Maybe $40 the whole time. I'm just not into giving my money to gambling machines, but I did do it just for the sake of having fun. I also went to the most methed out McDonald's in history. There was a McDonald's directly across the street from the hotel, and it was so methed out. These people ran in there yelling. They had to throw somebody out because they started lighting up cigarettes in the store. Our table was crooked to the point where we had to hold on to our drink or it would have slid off the edge, but it was the only table available that wasn't like full of meth heads. I don't know. What are you going to do, man? It's just the way it is, and I hope that you can forgive my salty use of the word meth head. It's just, when you're in Reno, you see a lot of dudes who have problems with meth, and it's sad. I'm not making fun. I'm just stating a fact. I don't make fun of people with abuse problems. That's a sad road to have to hoe, but hoe it you must, and you must find the strength to come back and join the rest of us. So this is me. I'm going to sign off this segment. We're going to, this is probably the longest opening segment in the history of the show. Somebody research that and hit me up on Twitter at IC Robots. We're going to move into At the Movies, where the first movie we're going to take a look at is a movie that I am in love with from the bottom of my heart right now. It's a movie known as Baby Driver. Peace.
In a moment, at the movies, without Ebert, Siskel, or even that dude Roper. But you got IC Robots, so that's something, right?
So what is it you do?
I'm a driver. Let's go! He has a hum in the drum. Plays music to drown it out. And that's what makes him the best.
Your name's Baby. B-A-B-Y,
Baby. We are being descended upon by this entire city. Baby Driver.
So, I went to see Baby Driver on the Monday after we came back from the big Reno trip, and then I went to see Baby Driver again on the Tuesday, and if it wasn't so hot outside, I might go see it again today. That's how good I thought this was. Now, this is a widely enjoyed movie. Everyone seems to have a positive take on Baby Driver, and that is because it is so darn entertaining. But that's not to say the movie is not without flaws. Nothing is perfect, but this is a super duper enjoyable, super entertaining movie. It just starts and it goes and it keeps going and then it's over. And when it's over, you're left in a state of, wow, man, what the heck was that? That was great. And dude, I cannot recommend this movie high enough. It is the latest from Edgar Wright, who you might know from like Hot Fuzz and from Shaun of the Dead and from the fantastic Scott Pilgrim. I love that movie. I think that one is so dope and so close to what the actual comic book was, the Scott Pilgrim comic book. This might be the best adaptation, the exact literal adaptation of a comic book movie of all the times. I'm talking about Scott Pilgrim, not Baby Driver. Baby Driver is it's a car chase movie, and it has some amazing car chase scenes. And let's start at the beginning. The story is that of Baby, who is a driver for a criminal operative known as Doc, and he isn't necessarily a bad guy. He's trapped in the life because at one time he was boosting cars, and he boosted one of Doc's cars, and the car happened to be full of dope, and the dope wound up lost, and Doc was like, look, I could kill you, I'm a crook, I'm a criminal, I do that kind of thing, but instead I'm going to offer you the chance to be the driver for my operation. I saw some of those moves you had there, and Baby has no choice, but he has just about fulfilled his debt to Doc. This is the last mission, the trope of one more job, and the movie borrows a lot from a lot of other movies, and after a while I kind of discovered that's the theme, but we'll talk about that in a second. Baby is an amazing driver. Doc is a very smart criminal mastermind. He's played by Kevin Spacey, and then there are other dudes in the posse as well. John Hamm plays Buddy. I don't know the name of the actress who played Darling, his wife, and then you got Jamie Foxx as Bats, and John Barathol is in it. I don't remember the John Barathol character name, but he's in it too brief of a time. John Barathol is he's like a national treasure. This dude he's killing it every time out. He killed it as Shane on Walking Dead. He killed it as Punisher. He killed it in Wolf of Wall Street. Dude was fantastic in that, and he is also super fantastic for the brief time he's in it. The real star of the movie, though, is, well, there's a couple things that might be competing for stars. We'll hit those in order. The star of the movie is the car scenes. The car chases are so rad, and they're all, as far as I understand it, I wasn't there on the set, but from what I understand it, they're all done in real life, in real practical effects. There's no CGI green screen, which you see in a lot of other car chase movies. Like Fast and Furious has some good car stuff, but so much of it is cartoony. But this is all real cars, and you can really feel the momentum. You know that feeling when you're watching a really dope car chase scene, and the driver makes a harsh turn, and you kind of feel yourself turning in your seat with the momentum. It's like that, but the way dudes drive nowadays with the emergency brake and the drifting and all that stuff, the momentum goes one way and then it goes back the other way. It's just the things that Baby's doing in the movie defy physics. Well, the stunt drivers, are doing just defy physics, which is impossible, I realize. It's just me trying to explain it the best way that I can. There are just so many awesome, terrific scenes. The dialogue is quick and pithy. The second star of the movie is the soundtrack. The movie is very soundtrack driven, and right off the bat, they start hitting a lot of scenes as if they are in, they're in a musical. You'll see Baby walking and hitting musical beats. He's hitting the beats as he's going along, and a lot of the car chase scenes, you'll feel the guys the driving is going just perfectly in sync with the tempo of the music. It's something that they do that I think is interesting with the soundtrack is they picked a lot of songs that were sampled in very famous hip-hop songs. There's some De La Soul songs and other songs, and they start off with the song, and you don't know if it's going to be the original version or the rap song version, and for the most part, they go into the original version of the song, except for one time during the climax of the movie, they hit the Young MC song, and it's just so neat, and it kind of goes in with the idea that the movie it's sort of sampled from a lot of different movies of different genres. You got a heist movie, you got the car chase movie, and a lot of the scenes are not so much boosted from other films, but they're things that you've seen in other films, much like the way that, like, a really good rap song, like a well-produced, like a Public Enemy song by the Bomb Squad or something, how it takes, like, all these elements from all these different things and they put it together, but they come out with something new and something beautiful, like, in its own right. That's kind of what Baby Driver is. It's sort of like a sampled rap song. It sounds like something you've heard before, so that's all the more reason to get on the dance floor. That's some wisdom from Daddy-O, from his hit song Brooklyn Bounce. Daddy-O was. He was in Stetsasonic, but he briefly went solo, and that song Brooklyn Bounce is one of my favorites, and the movie's a lot like that. It's very similar in a lot of ways, but the similarities to other things make familiarity, and that familiarity brings comfort. But at the same time, you're seeing like an all-new version of something that you already enjoy. So it's super great. I liked just about everything in this movie. It did. The first time I saw it, it kind of caught me off guard the way that it had like this musical theater element to it. It really caught me off guard, and it took me a few minutes to get into it. But the second Baby gets behind the wheel, man, you will be into it. I would recommend going to see this movie on the big screen. It has big music, great sound editing, great car racing, and I do think that it's best enjoyed in the big screen format. But look, it's going to be just as fun when it comes home. I'm going to grab it on disc, which I hardly ever do, but I want to see it again already. There's just so many good parts. John Hamm as Buddy is really great. Kevin Spacey is fantastic in this. Jamie Foxx's Bats is awesome. Everybody comes through. The movie it's almost a 5-mic movie, but I am hesitant to give a movie 5 mics in real time. Now, I believe the 5 mics comes over time, but Empire Film Magazine, which I highly respect, has given this movie 5 mics, so it wouldn't be completely out of line to do that, but I just don't know what the future holds, so I'm gonna give it as good as you can get without being 5, and that is 4.5 mics.
4.5 mics.
Doesn't fit me. On July 7th.
Peter, you have 576 no-shoot combinations.
Oh, that was awesome.
Suit up.
Activate reconnaissance drone.
Oh.
Web wings. Super jump.
Oh, yeah.
And save the day. Spider-Man Homecoming.
You guys aren't the real Avengers. I can tell Hulk gives it away.
Rated PG-13.
The second movie I saw during this period of time was a movie that is known as Spider-Man Homecoming. It is the latest offering from Marvel movies, and I would imagine that by this time that most of you guys have already seen this, and I would imagine that most of you guys have liked this. It is a very fun, very enjoyable, very neat movie. They do a lot of things right in this one that they haven't done in previous Spider-Man movies. The main thing is they take good old Spidey and they put him back in high school. They make him a kid. That's where Spidey's best adventures happen. I am not like the biggest Spider-Man dude in the world. I don't think that I have ever subscribed to a Spider-Man comic. I have read plenty of them, but he's never been like my main dude. But I do understand that he is one of, if not the biggest of all the Marvel dudes, and he's had a successful movie franchise 2 times over now, and this is the latest reboot. The way that this one differs from the other ones, except for, the high school stuff that we just mentioned, is that this one is actually in the general Marvel Universe continuity. The other ones were over in their own little Spider-Man verse, but this one is in the normal universe, and you get a lot of mentions of, previous Spider-Man adventures with fights with Captain America. You see Tony Stark's. It's all good, man. Spider-Man is finally back where he belongs, and I for one am happy to see it. I thought this movie was pretty good, man. I enjoyed it a lot more than I do a lot of the other Marvel movies. I put it up in the upper tiers, with the Captain America Winter Soldiers, and it's not quite like that, but I put it up there more than I do down with the Thor movies or with like Doctor Strange or the ones that are just sort of average. The movie stars Tom Holland, who I just saw in The Lost City of Z. It also has Marissa Tomei, Robert Downey Jr., and a bunch of other cool folks, bunch of teenagers and such. What's really great about the movie is watching Spider-Man struggle with his high school life, like trying to juggle being a superhero and being a kid, and at the same time he's left in like this loveless relationship with Tony Stark. If you remember back in Civil War, Captain America Civil War, Tony Stark called in Spider-Man as a surprised fighter on his side, and when you join Spider-Man in this movie, it takes off from there, and the whole time he's waiting for Tony Stark to call him again. He's waiting for his big Avenger call-up that never comes, and day in and day out, he waits, and he calls Tony, and he waits, and he calls Happy, who is played by Jon Favreau. And when you combine this with just like the day-to-dayness of being in high school, and we all remember what that was like, you get a really good movie and a really interesting superhero in that he is more man than he is super, if that makes sense. His humanity is what has always made Spider-Man such a great hero. And in this one, you really, really, really feel his humanity. You feel just him struggling with the foibles of youth. The movie is presently at 93% over on good old Rotten Tomatoes. The movie took in 117 million opening weekend, which is pretty darn good. I know there'll be a sequel, and then I know there'll be a sequel as long as they can keep Tom Holland looking 15. I think Bro is he's 22 years old, but he can like really pull off being 15. He's not looking like Tobey Maguire or anything. He's kind of on the slight side, and he has like this boyish enthusiasm that works really well with the character. The main villain in this is played by the national treasure known as Michael Keaton. He is the Vulture. In this, the Vulture is like manufacturing weapons out of alien tech and out of Ultron tech and stuff that he sells to various criminals. At one time he was like a construction magnate, and he had a bad run-in with like some SHIELD dudes, some government operatives, and that twisted him to the dark side. But he's sort of the kind of villain that he's only on the dark side because he has to be. But when you do see villains like that, you realize, there's always alternatives to becoming a weapons dealer. You could just try to get another construction job. You can do whatever you want. But in his mind, the only thing that he can do to keep food on his plate is to continue breaking the law. So he does. He runs into Spider-Man. There's a fight, and, things go where they go. The movie is good, and I did enjoy it, but it is just another in a long line of Marvel movies. They all have this formula, and I realize like all movies to a degree have a formula, but you get like character, intro, and then some stuff happens, and then you build to the big fight at the end, and it's all good, but I would like to see them try to break new ground. I don't know what this new ground is, but when I read comics, I see like a million different stories. They're not all exactly the same. There are some things you can do that are a bit different, and I put it up to you, Marvel movies. I know you're listening to this, and I put it up to you. Let's try to break away from our formula a little bit. This thing you got going is good, and everybody likes it, and I myself like it, but I think that you can be better than this. Back in the late 80s, 90s, people started calling for comic books to be better than they were. There started this whole movement where people were like, look, dude, it's just a drawing and words. You can draw anything, and you can write anything. A comic can be anything you want. It doesn't have to be these guys in tights. It can be anything. And I think that we're getting to that point in comic book movies where they can be many different things. They don't always have to be this 1, 2, third act fight. And I think it's time. I think that we're getting to the point where everybody's seen so many of these that you could throw us a curve, throw us something different, and we would all enjoy it. But This isn't that, but that's not to say it's not good, because it's well acted. It is a lot of fun. There's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of good dialogue. There's a lot of cool things in here. You're definitely going to enjoy this one if you are a fan of Spider-Man, if you're a fan of Marvel movies. It's all good, man. I am going to go ahead, and I think that on the good old Source Magazine mic meter, with 1 being a dud and 5 being an all-time classic, I'm going to put it where I put a lot of Marvel movies. 3.5 mics.
3.5 mics.
Please drop by supportthereport.com and consider becoming a show patron for as low as a measly $1 a month. It's the right thing to do. You've made it this far. It's time. The final segment. The IC Robots Radio Pop Culture / Toy News / Other Boring Stuff Informational Moment.
All right, we are back for the final segment of the show. The last and final bit before we head up on out of here. Let's see. I promised I would talk about the Toys R Us in Reno. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to say. They had pretty much the same basic things they have here at my local TRU. One thing that was weird, though, the store was laid out in like an opposite order. On one side of my store, you have the boys' toys, and the other side you have the girls' toys. I realize that's not PC or whatever, but at the Reno store, everything was reversed. At my store, you come in and you are on the side of the dolls. At this store, the entrance is on the side of the action figures. Not a big deal, but still a bit weird and disconcerting. There were Madballs. We don't have Madballs at my Toys R Us. I understand that they are pretty much out there and that dudes are finding them everywhere, but as of now, we still do not have them at my store. I don't know if that's either good or bad. My younger bro was into Madballs a lot. He had quite a few, and I never got into them. I think that they are cool, and every once in a while when we were going to go play baseball outside, we would end up having to use one of his Madballs. Generally, we used what was called a rag ball. It was the same size as a baseball, but it was made out of, like, densely packed fabric, as opposed to, hard leather baseball, and you could whack them pretty far and throw them pretty hard, but they didn't have, the range of a baseball. So they were good for when you were playing on a smaller field. And if we didn't have the rag ball, we would sometimes grab a Madball. And Madballs were wacky to play baseball with because the odd shape of the surface would cause the ball to fly off in just whatever random direction that, the physics dictated. So that was always fun, and I think that's a reason there is, value to old Madballs nowadays, is that people would play baseball with them. They were balls, and very few of them survived to today in good shape. I like that the new Madballs are, pretty close to the original Madballs. I like that, because, I don't know, man, it's just, when they remake a toy, when they remade the G.I. Joe, the 25th anniversary G.I. Joes, I wish that they would have just been pretty close to exact replicas of the original instead of these long, spindly, weird-looking action figures that we got, but that's not important. They also had some different mini-mates than we have at my Toys R Us there in Reno. They had a new set of X-Men ones that looked pretty cool, and they had a Jessica Jones set that we don't have that had Patsy Walker in it. I considered getting that, but in the end, I got nothing. What I did get, though, was a comment from Ferg Ferguson, who you might know from the Atari 2600 Game by Game podcast. When I checked in on Facebook that I was at Toys R Us, he exclaimed, "Oh my gosh, no," or something to that effect. Why would you be going to a Toys R Us when you're on vacation? And I don't know. That is a good question. But everywhere we do go, I always check and see if there is a Toys R Us. I have this weird goal of just going to as many of them as I can. And I don't know what that's about. I just, I like them. I like to check them out. I am getting, like, super mucusy, and I don't know what that's about, but it's not cool. It's yucky, but this has nothing to do with Toys R Us, and I apologize for taking, like, that, mucus detour. Oh, dig this. Do you guys know, Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine? It's, like, this old, venerated magazine that has recently been brought back. They cover, monsters. It's right there in the title, and it's been a while since we've seen Famous Monsters on the newsstand, but recently and when I say recently, I mean within the past few years, the rights to the magazine were purchased by a guy who lives here in Santa Rosa, and he's relaunched the magazine, and he's put together like a series of film conventions and horror conventions, and his latest offering is a television show called Famous Monsters of Filmland, and it appears on one of our local San Francisco stations, Coffee TV 20. This is the same station that airs the Creature Feature show that I talked about a few weeks back, and they are using Famous Monsters of Filmland as a lead into Creature Features. This is Saturday night, and it's become one of, like, maybe my favorite night of TV. I've only seen 2 episodes of Famous Monsters, and I do kind of think that it is an infomercial because it airs without commercials. There are commercials for different Famous Monsters of Filmland conventions, but there aren't typical TV station advertisers, which leads me to believe that they may be, like, purchasing the time, but it's all good. The last episode that I saw had a, like, area dedicated to Friday the 13th video games, and they were talking to some of the Friday the 13th actors and creators, and they all tied it together with Friday the 13th toys and statues, so I don't know, man. It's a good half hour of television that I hope that they expand nationally with. If I hear anything about, like, a rollout to other stations, or even if it becomes available on the internet, I'll put that on the Facebook page so you can check that out. That's facebook.com/ICRobots, or you can also, like, check me out on Twitter. That's @ICRobots. On Instagram, that's @ICRobots as well. What else is going on? There is going to be a New Warriors TV show on Freeform. Freeform is what used to be ABC Family. I think ABC Family is a better title, but what are you going to do? At any rate, they have gone ahead and cast an actress as Squirrel Girl, Doreen Green, the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. I think that she's going to end up being, like, the lead main character of the show. Squirrel Girl she's pretty popular nowadays on kind of a cult level. And the actress that they've cast to play her is also pretty successful on a cult type level. Her name is, I believe it's pronounced, Milana Vaintrub. You might know her from those AT&T commercials about the, like, really enthusiastic girl who worked at the AT&T store. She has, like, long brown hair. I think she's also in This Is Us, but I'm not certain about that. I did like those AT&T commercials. I thought they were pretty fun, and they did kind of put me in the position to where, like, I wanted to see more of this girl, but I didn't really, like, know that much of her. And then she popped up on This Is Us, which is one of the old wife's favorite shows, and I'm like, oh, maybe she's, like, like a fuddy-duddy, artsy-fartsy type actress. But then she gets cast as Doreen Green, the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. So there you have it. That could be a ton of fun, and I'm actually, like, looking forward to that quite a bit now, when in the first place I wasn't like all that sure that I was going to watch. I knew that I would check it out a little bit, but I wasn't sure how far I'd stick with it. But at least now there's, like, a lead that I can get behind. So what else is popping off in the world that is of note? In the world of Archie, it was announced that Jughead the Hunger is going to continue on as an ongoing series starting in October. This is the latest in the Archie horror universe. In this one, Jughead is a werewolf, and Betty comes from a long line of werewolf hunters who has been, like, infiltrating Riverdale, waiting for Jughead to turn, because the family Jones, Jughead's relatives, are all basically, like, werewolves, and the Coopers all hunt werewolves, and she's just just been waiting for the moment, and then things finally pop off, and the adventures go from there. This started off as a one-shot, and I guess that the reception was good enough that people decided to keep it as an ongoing. So there you have it. I'm looking forward to that. Another Archie title to add to my list. I already get Archie, Betty and Veronica, which never comes out, and then I get Jughead, and gonna get this now. So I also get Reggie. I haven't seen Reggie in a few months. I don't know. The publishing schedule for these is kind of all over the place. They don't come out with the sort of regularity that I would like. But what are you gonna do? It's not like I can go over there and make people draw faster. It is what it is. Enjoy it when they come out, I guess. But you do lose momentum when these things don't come out with the kind of regularity that you would enjoy. Hey, check out the IC Robots radio feed. There is a new fun show that I've been doing with my good pal Kevin Zerb from Zerbinatorland. It's called The Pretentious Podcast. We already got one. We're going to record another one in a day. I think it is a day from now. So we're going to do that. And basically, it's just us getting together and gabbing. It's a rare opportunity to hear me working with somebody else. I just don't do that. But I find Kevin Zerb so delightful that it's a lot of fun. You can get that one here on the IC Robots radio feed, as well as Geekfest Rants. They have been coming up with a lot of good shows lately. I liked this one I just heard the other day where he talked about Baby Driver and Battlestar Galactica toys in the same episode. That was so great. I love those old Battlestar Galactica toys. I don't have that many of them, but the ones I do have, I think are really great, and I would like to get more, but that's neither here nor there. And Mr. Sensational, Gino Vega, came out with a really good episode the other day where he was talking about MMA VHS tapes, and that was like two things that I love, MMA and also VHS tapes. Tons of fun there. So check that one out. That's on the IC Robots radio feed. That's available on Stitcher. That's on iTunes. You can go to icrobots.com, ISEE-robots.com. I've been trying to do some more writing, so keep checking in over there because I've been doing semi-regular blog posts about stuff. I wrote about some G.I. Joe figures. I wrote about an E.T. beer sign I found the other day. Just all sorts of fun stuff available on icrobots.com through IC Robots Radio. We are the best. What are you going to do? Either like it or don't like it, but learn to love it. It's the best thing going today. And with that, I'm going to get on up out of here. And my phone is ringing. I can see my phone ringing right now. So I am going to have to answer that. Usually I keep it in the other room, but it's actually ringing right now. So I'm going to get it, and I'm going to sign off. This is me, IC Robots. If you don't know, now you know.
This has been an IC Robots radio production.